Hi, this is Brent Horton. I'm a student of KIN 353, and today I'd like to present to you how to rehab a shoulder that's been dislocated, um, anterior glenohumeral joint dislocation. And so I'm going to walk you through what it would look like for a 12-week recovery program or rehab program. So the first exercise we're going to go over, and the whole goal of the phase one is well, first of all, the phase is acute phase. So it's basically the beginning repair phase when the actual injury occurs. And so the whole goal objective is to gain range of motion in the joint and to begin gaining strength in that joint. So the first one we're going to do is isometric wall presses. So you need to find a wall or a door or anything that's flat, and you want to come up to it. So your forearms and your elbows or everything are in line, and you're basically going to retract the shoulders and then push yourself away, protracting the shoulders. So it's retracting, protracting. And this can be progressed by distancing yourself a little bit further away or with the hands further up. And then same thing, coming down and then protracting out. So that's basically to help with the serratus anterior strength, which is very important for the shoulder stability after injury. So the second exercise would be the Codman's pendulum, and it's really not even an exercise, but it's just to gain or begin to gain mobility in that joint. So really just holding on to anything like a chair, and with the injured arm you'd want to just go up and down, side to side, or even circles, forward and back. And you want to do this, for time, so maybe like 5 minutes or so. There really is no time limit, but several times a week would be appropriate for that exercise. And moving on to the next phase, that would be the repair phase. So the whole objective of this phase is again to regain that range of motion and strength throughout the shoulder joint and scapular region. And we're just progressing, making it a little bit more difficult, but also it's important to challenge the muscles so that we can regain that strength. So the first exercise is internal external rotation. You can use resistance band tubing. So here I have a lighter band, and so external rotation would be, I usually use like a towel or something that you can press against so that arm is really nice and close to the body. You don't want it out here, so like a towel or something, and then externally rotating here. And a lot of people like to go in with it and then out, but that's not necessary. It's just this movement here. So maybe 10 to 15 reps, 2 to 3 sets, and several times a week would be appropriate for that. And then the opposite, on that same injured arm, internal rotation, again having that towel underneath the armpit and then bringing it inward. And the same thing applies with the sets and reps and times per week. And so that's hitting the rotator cuff, very important. Again, going back to the whole scapular strengthening, so going back to the wall presses, but this time you can use a band or something, so like a tubing or something as resistance. So with those hands back up, distancing yourself maybe a little bit further away, and then what you could do is reach up and back while maintaining scapular control on the opposite side. So protracting as far away as you can, pushing yourself away and pressing as hard as you can against the wall, and it's movements up and down, left and right. And you want to repeat this, up, down, left, right, maybe 10 reps or so. 2 to 3 times a week. And so phase 3 is the next phase we're going to talk about, and this is the remodeling phase. And the whole objective of this phase, again, continuing that strengthening of the glenohumeral joint and the scapular region, but also to gain functionality. So we want to introduce a little bit more dynamic strengthening exercises to help the athlete return to their sport. So first exercise I'm going to show you is just a plank, real simple. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but there's progressions we can do. So everyone knows the one on the elbows. So it's here, and making sure that 90-degree bend in the elbows. Shoulders are in line with the elbows, and butt is not up or sinking. So this is a great core exercise as well, but it's also a great stability exercise for the shoulder. And that's a regular plank. So you'd probably want to do like a minute or 30 seconds to a minute, depending on the athlete's ability. And then the other exercise, again, another stability exercise for the shoulder as well as the core, is a side plank. This could be, starting with something simple like this, or crossing over with the legs straight like this, or even more challenging like this. And then we can also do rotations as well. And I would say 20 to 30 second hold would be advisable on that one, and several times a week would be good, 2 to 3 times a week. And finally, the last phase. So this is after the pain is gone, the athlete's finally recovered. This is just a preventative phase to make sure that subluxation or the glenohumeral joint doesn't dislocate. So it's a preventative measure phase, and so we're just advancing and progressing the various stability and dynamic movement exercises. So the first exercise would be a plank with a forward, backward, left and right motion of the shoulder. So again, get into the plank position. You could do like a walkout, okay, making it a lot harder for the core, locking it back in. Okay, we can also do a left and right, okay, or a combination. So it's really just regaining that mobility as well as stability in the joint. So the next one would be going back to the scapular presses, but this time it's going to be in a push-up position, working the straightest anterior, strengthening that. But this time, as a progression, you can use a resistance band. So in the ground here. So we're allowing the shoulders to dip into a retracted state, and then protracting and pushing your hands against the ground as hard as you can. And by having this band around the wrist, it really works the external rotators, strengthening those. And then we can also do progressions with a push-up, or even kind of walking it out like we were doing before, left and right. And then third exercise would be going back to the Codmans. So you could do a resisted Codmans version, I would say. And so going back to the resistance band, you could do like an extension. So bringing it back like this. Or you can also do stirring the pot. Okay. Clockwise, counterclockwise. I'd say do them all, just to regain that range of motion and strength throughout the joint. And then, let's see, finally it would be over, I don't know what you would call this, but it's bent over, and it's basically a pull with the external rotation and then into a press. And this would be without weight, of course. and then as a progression, you could use with weight. Like it's really difficult exercise. So I would say anywhere to 2 to 5 pounds, 8 pounds max, and 2 to 3 sets would be appropriate for this. Uh, Maybe 8 to 12 reps only, and 2-3 times a week. And that's pretty much it. And so I thank you.